Hello and welcome to another episode of Heal Yourself with me, Sarah Dawkins. We're the podcast that not only shares health and wellness tips, but real people sharing their own healing journeys to help you to see that it is possible to heal ourselves by ourselves. And today I want to take a look at nutrient-dense foods and bioavailability. Because back in 2022, Ty Beal released a study to identify the top food sources of iron, zinc, folate, vitamin A, calcium and vitamin B12 because these micronutrients are essential for our optimum health and they were commonly lacking in many people. So we can all be malnourished. We don't have to look towards the third world for malnourished people. We can even be hugely overweight and still malnourished because the food that we're eating doesn't have the nutrition available to us. So we've been told over the past several years that fat and sugar are bad. And more recently, red meats and processed meats are bad. And fruit, vegetables, nuts and seeds are good. And maybe that is because when we look at the nutrition within that product, that food, it potentially contains a lot of nutrition. However, we need to be looking at bioavailability because how much of that nutrition can we take from that food and absorb and utilize? So a high bioavailable food means that we can absorb a lot of the nutrition from that food and waste very little. Whereas a low bioavailable food means that we absorb very little and waste a lot more. So this study that Ty Beal did rated the density of bioavailability of foods. So that's looking at how much food we need to eat to be able to absorb the nutrients from it. And which were the best foods that were the most, not just nutrient dense, because many foods are nutrient dense, but what we could actually absorb and assimilate. Which nutrients from which food could we do that? Because believe it or not, a lot of nutrients are locked up within foods that we can't actually access. So even though we're eating them, we can't absorb the nutrition that's coming from those foods. So the foods that contain the top sources of these priority nutrients, well, it shocked me because I was always led to believe that fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds were very nutritionally dense, and yes, they are. But the top foods that had this not only nutrition, but bioavailable nutrition, meaning that they were not only nutrient dense, but we could absorb nearly all of those nutrients, were organs. Liver, spleen, kidney, heart and pancreas came in the top 10. Next came small fish, dark green leafy vegetables, crustaceans, goat, beef, eggs, milk, canned fish with bones, mutton and lamb. And then after that came cheese, goat milk and pork. And to a lesser extent, yogurt, fresh fish, pulses, teff, and canned fish without the bones. So when we're looking at food, we need to be saying not just, is this food nutritious, but can my body absorb the nutrients in the food that I'm eating? And one example that comes to mind is spinach. Now we're told spinach is loaded in calcium. It has a high nutritional value. But actually our bodies can only absorb 5% of the calcium held within that spinach. So we would need to eat pounds and pounds of spinach to get enough calcium from it. And that's because of something called anti-nutrients that actually block our ability to absorb those nutrients. So not everybody wants to eat meat or even organ meat. And I was one of those people. I chose about 4 years ago to stop eating meat on moral grounds because I didn't like the way animals were being kept and raised in small tight spaces, being fed food they might not normally eat to feed human beings. So I chose not to eat meat. And for the past month or two, I've been having this real empty feeling inside that I couldn't fill with quantities of food. No matter how much food I ate, and I was still eating fish, I couldn't fill that empty feeling. I couldn't put my finger on it for a while. So for people who don't eat meat or fish, and vegans as well, it's admirable to want to not eat those animals on moral grounds to help more animals live a more natural life. But when we look at our ancestors, meat and fat are ancient foods. We've always eaten them. So to not eat them defies our evolution. Even tribes people eat meat. And when they're sacrificing animals, they are thankful to the animal for giving its life. And they don't just eat the muscle meat, they eat the organ meat, they use the skin, and they use the bones too. So they use the whole animal and nothing goes to waste. So in reflecting on vegetarianism and veganism, I want to bring your attention to a video that I saw fairly recently, saying that basically plants, when the plants are being eaten and picked, they have the ability, we've found now through modern technology, to start screaming and expressing stress and extreme duress during being picked and eaten. So in the wild, these plants, this screaming that the plants are doing serves as a defense mechanism. It warns other plants that there are predators eating them. But not only that, it releases these chemicals into the air which attract the carnivores that come and eat the insects that are eating the plants. So they send out this message. So if plants are able to do this, then does that mean they're sentient too? And if we're not eating animals because they're sentient beings, and now we've proven that plants are sentient and conscious, very conscious of what's going on, where does that put us with our food choices? But for me personally, because of what I've been through and the last few weeks I sat on the fence thinking, I think my body's crying out for meat products, even though I was taking some supplements. I was really having a moral dilemma because I chose not to eat meat for moral reasons, and my body's now screaming, it's deficient, it's devoid of something. So I started eating meat again, and that emptiness, that feeling has gone away. So now I give thanks for the animal for sacrificing its life. I use its bones to make stock and bone broth, which is also highly nutritious. And I'm very aware of what I'm eating and how I'm eating it. And in doing so as well, I am also aware that I am now, because I'm eating organ meats as well as muscle meats, that I am nourishing my body. And this feeling, as I say, of emptiness has now gone. Obviously, it's a personal choice for everybody. And I just hope I can help people to reflect on some of the things that we've been told are good for us aren't necessarily as good as we've been told. I hope that helps you. Please come and join me next week when we have a guest on the show sharing their own healing journey too. See you soon.